Hey, good day. My name is John. I'm with Boulder County Open Space here at Walker Ranch up on Flagstaff Mountain. We're here today to talk about blacksmithing in 125 years ago and what our pioneers of Boulder County used their blacksmith shops for to help their ranches be successful. Again, at Walker Ranch, a number of different buildings, original homestead, barns, cattle barns, chicken coops. But one of the very first buildings that was built here by Jim Walker, the settler, was a blacksmith shop. And the reason Mr. Walker built the blacksmith shop first was that he could use that to make tools and materials to build the other buildings. It was often the most valuable piece of property on the early ranches in that it was utilized to build up the value of the ranch, building tools and making nails and other things they needed to build the other buildings. Here we are at the heart of the blacksmith shop, the forge or the furnace. This is where we put coal in as our fuel, and Mr. Walker would get coal from down in the Marshall area. There are coal mines down there at the turn of the century, and bring a wagon load up. Coal will heat up to the temperature of about 2,400 degrees, which is needed to manipulate and meld the metal into the shape that the blacksmith wants. So we have the fuel, the coal. It's put into the area of the furnace called the duck nest, a mound of coal. The blacksmith would light that, and his apprentice or himself would turn the blower, which would supply oxygen coming up underneath the coal in the duck nest to get the coal burning red hot and getting it up to that temperature of 2,000 plus degrees. Once the temperature was right, Mr. Walker wanted to make a nail, a piece of metal. He would put it into the fire, heat it up. It'd be red hot. If he got it too hot, it would start sparkling and actually melt. And his apprentice would be watching the fire with the blower and keeping it at just the right temperature. Once it's at the right temperature, using tongs, would lift that red hot piece of metal over to the anvil, and he would draw out the metal to a point and make it sharp so it would be pounded through the wood. When it cooled down, he'd put it back into the fire to get it heated up again. A good blacksmith can make a nail in just a couple of minutes, and you'd hear a real rhythm of going. And again, in just a few minutes, from a round piece of metal, you'd have a nice nail made out. Same with the horseshoes. They would use the horn of the anvil to make the curves. They'd use they call the hardy hole with a cutter on it to cut off different pieces of whatever they were working with. And again, a good horseshoe, a very valuable piece of equipment on the farm to keep their horses healthy and do the work that they needed to do. Other tools that they made, different kinds of hooks and latches and hinges for the doors. All over the Walker Ranch Homestead here, you'll see on the buildings actual hardware that was made by Mr. Walker well over 100 years ago. Some of the other tools that we used is the vise to hold the metal. They'd use it to saw with saws, or when it's heated up, use a twisting tool to twist curves into the metal and make decorative pieces. Another important tool on the ranch was a drill, hand-operated drill. They'd have their piece of stock that they're working with and drill down into the stock to make the holes to for wagon wheels or whatever they were using that particular piece of metal for. Again, everything was recycled in those days and reused.